Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. It's me, Miss Jen, and
me. Hi,
Hannah behind the camera.
Hannah behind the camera. That sounds like a name like she need to start for. Hannah behind the camera. Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is a show that you tune into so that you can figure out what to put in your pull lists and pull boxes for tomorrow, and to call your local comic shop and make sure that they have a copy for you. Heads up for everybody, this is just a bit of news, just so that you know. Now, your shop might have missed the email, and if they do, that's just life. But Image made a request to retailers, because not all retailers actually got all of their King Spawn, regular Spawn, Nightmare Blog, and there were a few other Image titles that they're having retailers hold until next week, so that all of us can have them at the same time. But like I said, sometimes we don't read all of our emails, so if you see someone putting theirs up, then they just don't know. But that's also to say, if you show up your LCS and they're not up, don't yell at them, because they're actually doing what they've been instructed to do by Image. And we like Image, so we like to follow the rules. All right, here we go. We're going to give you guys some awesome feedback about the books we read this week. I will be the first person to admit I've never read any of the Critical Role books, mostly because the last few series that have come out, this is totally Hannah's kind of like love, these kinds of books. So she chose them, so I'm kind of jumping in. So this will be your way to know, can I just jump into a Critical Role book and understand what's going on? The answer is yes. So this one is entitled Critical Role, The Tales of Exandria, the Bright Queen, #1 out this week. So this is from a point of view of not knowing any of these characters, so just know that I don't know them going in, but it's really cool. So the book starts the way I love books do, when they kind of like take you to the very beginning of all things, right? And tell you how all things came into existence for the world you're reading, not necessarily for like whatever really happened for us. But in this case, it has a lot to do with like beings of light, okay? And these two beings that are on the front of this, which one must assume is the Bright Queen, it looks like they have been together for a very, very long time. But that procreation isn't necessarily part of their universe's normality. And in the book, they make a decision based on that there's a new light that's come into the world, that they take that as kind of a sign that they should have there should be a child to take on that light. So the light is going to become a being. And I guess they've decided it's going to be their being. But it appears in a big twist that there are other beings in this world that don't want that to happen, or want it to happen for them instead, or whatever. But it's really great. Critical Role books have been
really
well
good.
Loved.
Yeah, and I haven't even really listened to Critical Role much, just because I'm trying to get the transcripts so that I can read along as well.
Yeah, so you don't need to know anything. You don't even have to know what Critical Role is.
Right.
So just enjoy it. If you love RPG universes, then this will be right up your alley.
And it's a really great one too.
All right, let's see. I'll start off here.
I read this one too.
With from DC this week, Nubia and the Amazons, #1. So this one, it does a pretty good job of kind of explaining why some of the concepts in this are not seen in the Wonder Woman world. So basically, it begins by introducing this concept of this well that is on the island where the Amazons live. And basically, new Amazons are created by coming out of this well. And it's women who have died in sort of the rest of the world who are being sort of transported and kind of come out of the well, and they become an Amazon. And there is a woman who stays there and is the well keeper and takes care of the well. And basically, it begins with Queen Nubia, as she soon is, coming out of the well, and then right after she comes out, there's like this huge explosion and the well gets sealed up. So this is like all like a flashback, like 200 years like before anything else happened. So then we zoom forward, we see the well, concept of the well, explosion. The well is all sealed up. We can't use it anymore. And so then it's years and years and years later, and she has become Queen Nubia, and she is running the Amazons, and she is, they're just going about their business. All of a sudden, the well unseals again. And they take it initially as like, oh, this is great. We're gonna get some new Amazons. We got some new friends coming, and they start, women start coming out of the well, and it's awesome. But by the end of this comic, they start kind of feeling like, maybe this was not a good sign. Maybe this is a sign of something bad coming. It's good that we have new Amazons, but maybe it's not such a good sign. Ooh. And this is first of 6. So this is going to be a 6 run, and it says it's the prelude to the trial of the Amazons. It's going to be the next series.
That was awesome. All right, and in a just like the irony of ironies, since I also don't play Dungeons and Dragons right now, it's for lack of time, honestly. I got the Dungeons and Dragons Mindbreaker book to read, which feels like it helps if you know this troop. They have a feeling of a troop that's been together, and we might know, but maybe they've just written it that way, and it's just kind of cool, so these guys have been together. But the fun part about it is that the troop shows up in town. It's their town. Clearly, it's their home base. And things have happened to them when they've been on their adventures. That's why it made me think that maybe something had happened to them in previous issues that would explain this. Mm-hmm. But like this big strong guy that's part of the troop, he doesn't know anything. Like it's like he's become dumb, for lack of a better term. And so you're just kind of like thinking to yourself, I don't want to know what happened to these guys. But there's something really, truly bizarre that's happened in the town. One of the characters is a churchgoer, and so she goes to the chapel that's her chapel home. And the priest that's there is acting all kinds of janky, super janky. And then they see later on the librarian, and she's standing around and talking to other people, but they're all acting real weird. And so that's the mystery that gets unraveled in this. Like, what is going on in their town? What has happened while they were gone? And what happened to them while they were gone? I hope they show us that. But they have these really cool. I don't mean cute. Creatures on there. I guess they're kind of cute. They have like cat faces. They're like cat dragons.
They're cat-like.
Yep.
They're displacer beasts.
That's okay. Displacer beasts. Okay. See, that's how dumb I am.
That's okay. I've had to fight them. So.
All right, we have a question from our viewers. This is from Alan. Is Nubia a new character? Is she in other DC stuff? And the answer is right from our producers. Yeah, she's been on and off, been part of DC.
I think this is the most that we've ever seen of her is all the stuff that's coming out.
Yep.
And I'm really excited. She's a great character.
Yeah, she is.
Do you remember? Really did you start first in like a regular Wonder Woman issue?
Yeah. I don't remember which issue, but like they explain that when Diana was created, she was created at the same time.
Oh, okay. She's as ancient as Diana.
Alrighty. So moving on to our other guy coming out from DC this week. So this is another in their Batman Secret Files, which I believe the last one was the what is her name? Molly Miracle one, which was awesome. This one, they're so good because they're literally like little backstories of villains. Like they're just filling in like the stuff that you would usually the creator would have to do a couple of panels. Like, oh, this is kind of working it. They get their own little comic now. It says that this one is, I believe, specifically in between Batman number 115 and 116. I think is it's perfectly in between there. And this one is Peacekeeper 01 or Peacekeeper number 1. I don't know.
Not to be confused with the other Peacekeeper, which is fighting this one on the front of the recent Batman issue.
Yeah. And this one, it is really interesting because it really is like about the villain who is the Peacekeeper and 01, and it's really about his family who has lived in Gotham for many generations and has been there, and his family, all of his father and his grandfather, his great-grandfather were all parts of the Gotham Police Department. They're not necessarily a good part, like good members. They were kind of the corrupt cops that you always hear about and everything. And so it's really interesting because it shows his whole life and like flashing back and forth. And then he has been injected with the Scarecrow's like fear serum. So he is like having a full-on mental break, and he is, you know, and it's sort of flashing back and forth, and you just get his whole story in this whole exploration of really what it's like to be a part of like the family has been involved with the Gotham Police Department and with all of that for generations. And so it was really interesting, very cool, especially for fans, long-term fans of Batman, where, you know, you just, I guess it's that filling in of like what regular people have been doing while Batman and everyone else has been, you know, doing their superpowered stuff. So
they've been watching Netflix, clearly.
Yeah.
All right, I will. I'm going to show you Gunslinger Spawn, but I'm saving the review for next week. I did not read it, knowing that I was not going to be able to sell it to anybody. So just put this on your radar. It's weird. We actually checked our pull list for Gunslinger Spawn, and no one had remembered to add it. So we suspect that probably has happened in a lot of places, that people may have remembered King Spawn and didn't remember Gunslinger Spawn is coming out. And your local comic shop might not know that if you just get regular Spawn, that you also mean that you want Gunslinger Spawn, because you've got these 3 new series that are spinning out, because the next one is the group book, which I think is the Scorched or something. So this is just a heads up to add those books to your pull list if you intend to have them. Most of them have 3 main covers, A, B, and C. And then I know that this one had a 1 in 50 and a 1 in 250. And I think the 1 in 250 is signed by McFarlane, and I bet it costs a lot of money, just so you know. Not just because it's signed by him, but because it's a 1 in 250 is the reason why.
I did read that one this week. And it's
you want to review it? Go ahead. Get people psyched.
Yeah, if you want to. I mean,
get them psyched. Go.
Alrighty. This one was it's so good. It's a thicker issue, you know, with the number 1, and so it starts off with Gunslinger Spawn, which was introduced in King Spawn number 1. And he's literally a spawn from the 1800s who has been transported to our current world, and he is struggling with that. He's a very different Spawn, and this is totally different from the usual ones that we get. And it's pretty funny in the beginning, because his mechanical horse, his motorcycle, has broken down and it won't run, and he's pushing it. He's saying, "I've never had to do this with a horse." You know, he's like pushing it down the road, and he gets to a gas station with this kid who ends up being kind of like, I don't know if he's gonna be like a long-term sidekick, but he's there. And it's really good. It's really interesting. It does flashbacks to when Gunslinger Spawn was in the Old West. It goes forward into today, where he's trying to deal with suddenly being in this world of technology, which he does not understand. No clue, you know. And it's really interesting. He definitely works in a very different way than regular Spawn, and sort of has his own set of magical rules and restrictions, which is very cool. Very awesome one to pick up. Explains in here why his hat is so tall, and it's a good reason. So definitely, like I said, get that on your pull box for next week.
If I was writing Gunslinger Spawn, and maybe don't tell me if this is right, You know how like regular Spawn is his like the big like demonic energy that he has access to, that's got a big countdown that's been happening since issue 1, and that's recently shown back up in the book. So we assumed we didn't have it was out of power, but it was just he was saving it for something. But if I was doing it, since he's a fighter from the Old West, then you would limit him to like 12 shots, right? You got 2 guns, 1 for each of you. So that's the way I would roll it out. But who knows what's going on? So what it says also is that Farrell's hat from that time when he wore that hat everywhere. I love that hat. I don't know where that hat's from, but I love it.
It's more flat on the top. Gunslinger Spawn has a straight up Abe Lincoln rolling in here. That's what he's got. The Pharrell hat sort of had the Arby's thing going on, but this is full Abe Lincoln right here.
Oh, bro, I'm so sorry. He's gonna be like burning that hat now. He's like, "What do you mean the Arby's thing? Burn it with fire."
I remember the Pharrell Williams hat though.
Yeah, this
the giant one that's like because it's just bigger.
All right, Generations, My Little Pony. I didn't really know what to think of this because the cover is not what the book is about anyway, or at least not yet. It actually starts out with 2 human girls that look like maybe they're demons also. And they're kind of just like hanging out, who knows where. It looks like a cave to me. And kind of like plotting, naughtiness. Like they wish they could go party or whatever, and they can't find money for pizza. It's really interesting because they kind of seem like sisters that are just kind of like up to shenanigans, talking each other into stuff. But they figure out a way to cross over into the My Little Pony world, which results in a very surprising ending. So if you are looking for a new pony book, like you like My Little Pony Transformers or any other fun crossovers they've done, I've learned for a long time that books that have crossovers like this that seem like they're going to be ridiculous, like Archie Predator and Archie Sharknado, all these things, they on their surface look like they're going to be the dumbest thing on the planet, right? But then you read them and you're like going, oh, of course, it's written by someone fancy and they know what they're doing. So I always say, don't ever judge a book by its title or its cover, because in this case, that cover has nothing to do with what's going on the inside of the book. So
wow.
Just buy it if you like the ponies. Another book you cannot buy this week.
Oh, this one is another one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can totally put it on your list.
Yes. So this is Ant. This one's really interesting because, of course, the first question is, like, you think of Ant-Man, you think of, Ant, like a person with ant powers. But that's kind of not what the book's about. And I'll do I'll just get into the summary of it, and then I can kind of explain like why it's called that, which is actually really interesting. So basically, this is the origin story of the superhero Ant, and in this one we have where it starts off with a little girl and her father. It establishes that just them. The mother has passed away, is no longer in their lives, and the father is a research scientist, and he's working sort of in this lab, and there's this kind of shady like guy over him that is working for the U.S. government, and they're trying to get this technology out. There's this like serum, how many superhero starts with a mysterious serum, and so it gets to a point where that the dad decides that he wants to leave this. It's not going well. It's not being used properly or responsibly. And one thing leads to another, and the daughter ends up getting injected with the serum, basically.
Okay.
And the serum is actually an idea that she had as a child that inspired the father, where she basically has like a super hard exoskeleton on the outside. And it's really cool. It doesn't really fully show, like she's still kind of figuring out her powers at the end of this, But the reason it's called Ant is because the original creator, who is not the writer of this now, the writer now took it over and purchased this this character and all of this from the original writer who came up with this when he was in prison. So he was in prison and was in there for robbery, and he was looking out his window, and there was an ant climbing along on the windowsill, and he started drawing this character and created this character in prison and was like sharing the comics with his fellow inmates, and that's why it's called Ant, and that's where the story comes from.
That's an awesome positive thing that came out of someone's time paying the price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was really, so that's why it's called Ant. Like, you know.
And there has been a series before this, because it came out, most of it came out years and years and years ago, and then recently they finished it out with its issue 12, I think.
Yeah.
And then I guess they had enough response from issue 12. They're like, you know what? Maybe there's a new generation that wants to read this book. So, love it. Okay. So excited about this book. I had a really great interview with Brian Haberthen on Monday, which you can find on the Experience. Might get a link for that. It's definitely worthwhile listening to, because, you know, always the creator tells it better. Because Hellcop is actually a book that came out, I think, in the 90s and was under the Avalon imprint at Image. And now it's under Shadowline. And the idea here is, although it's called Hellcop, is that you find out in the book, and this is something you would have found out if you read the old series also, is that it's not actually hell in the traditional sense of the word. What in this universe, what we'd always thought was hell is actually just another dimension or place, that there's a thin place between our worlds, and that some people, when they die, go to this place and they don't know why or how the choosing happens. But the main character here presupposes that they've left something unfinished or something, which I like those kinds of ideas. It's just an unfinished place. And the universe is really cool. It feels very, it's got a lot of modern things that are part of it, but also a lot of steampunk elements. And he literally is a cop in this place that they call hell. And there's all kinds of crazy creatures there, including these really weird cherubim looking things. They look like angry babies with tattoos all over them. And they don't wear diapers, so they just poop from wherever they are.
They're actually on the back.
Oh, they're
of the
so
comic.
evil.
Yeah,
They're scary looking.
They all have like 5 o'clock shadow too, so it's babies with 5 o'clock shadow.
Ugh. So the creature design is so over the top.
Yeah,
over the top. So this one sets up a cool mystery within it that feels very fresh. So it's not a rehashing of anything. It's all brand new place to jump in. So enjoy reading Hellcop.
I read that one this week too, and it actually, for some reason, it really reminded me of the video game Borderlands.
Oh, I haven't played
like it has sort of that same. It's a very different story and everything, but just the style and kind of the attitude of it as well was kind of reminded me of it in a very good way. So,
okay.
All righty. Oh, and next up we have one that Jenna told me about 5 times today. I've got to read this. I've got to read this. So I hope she's watching right now. I read it. I did. And this is Cinderella Vs Zombies. This one is awesome. It is a one-shot that is sort of in between her main storylines. And in this one, Cindy she has decided that she's done. She's done with all the mystical stuff. She's done with the magical stuff. She's done with all of it. She moved to the most boring place she could think of, which is Toronto, and is just going to be totally calm. I know. And she's going to be totally calm and relaxed and just live a totally normal life. And she's going on a date with a guy, and then it's not really going that well. But then zombies attack. So, she's forced to start fighting the zombies and everything in her Cinderella style of just kind of like, ew, don't. What are we doing here? And then oh, my bad. Wait, there's no second T in Toronto? Toronto?
Toronto.
I don't know. Okay. Anyway, but it's really interesting is at one point this book completely makes fun of the classic like heist or like classic superhero setup where they have like all the people with elaborate backstories, but they don't last very long. I'm not going to say what happens to them, but it spends an entire page going into all their backstories, but it doesn't spend very long on them actually being characters. But it's really interesting. It's interesting because it's almost a book that kind of makes you it's about fighting zombies and monsters and everything, but it's also just about what am I going to do with my life? Like it has a weird depth to it of what am I going to do? Well, I've been doing this thing and I don't feel like doing it anymore. I'm going to go do this thing. What am I going to do? So depth from the Zenoscope with Cinderella and the zombies.
All right, I'm going to address this comment by the production team here. If it's Toronto, then
it's pronounced Toronto.
Toronto. Okay, does it have to shave its head and give its first name Dom then?
That is correct. Also, that's Toretto.
Whatever. All right, this one is a lot of fun. I love that they do when they do the Orville books. They know you don't want to have Star Trek and Star Wars. It's got like these huge long swaths of books that say you have to like put up all kinds of money. The Orville books, they just do double shots, so you get to an issue 1 and issue 2, and you're done. The whole story is finished, and you can enjoy your day. This one's a lot of fun. This one is one of those kind of like feels very much like it's going to be the Kobayashi Maru. They are hanging out and re-meet one of their old professors from the academy. And he's got this creature with him. And the professor, for some reason, is kind of like hyper-focused on he's found a rumor or something that this lost fleets of ships that has been gone for like, he says millions of years, but I don't know how in the world you'd have that much, history still logged, but that he thinks he's figured out where they might be. So he's just happened upon, which that doesn't seem like, it seems like there's something else up, the Orville crew, and says, Captain, you're the only person I know that would be smart enough or brave enough or whatever. Whatever you have to say to someone to goad them into doing the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
No one has ever been here and no one's ever survived it. Surely you can do it. That's the way you talk them into it, right? So he does actually talk them into going and doing it. Of course, it's the whole crew because they don't, that crew doesn't do anything by, by one person dictating whatever. So the dictation is not a dictatorship there. So they decide to go do it together. So they find themselves in a real big pickle. They only have one book to get themselves out, I guess.
All right. Do you want to do a second one or?
Oh, I've got too many. Okay.
Or I can do another while you're cleaning your glasses.
No, I'm good. I can clean and read.
All right.
I just realized my glasses had like I don't know how I can see out of them. Like, no wonder everything's fuzzy.
I always realize it right as I sit down right here. And the camera comes on. I think, wow, there's a big splotch.
Yeah, mine just like had a haze of stuff on them. All right, this is awesome. They had this big storyline. This is Phoenix Song Echo. They had this big storyline recently in which you had all of the heroes or any heroes that really wanted to kind of competing or proving themselves to be the next holder of the Phoenix power, which is dumb. Why would you want the Phoenix power? Phoenix power only brings sadness and destruction wherever it is. Phoenix does whatever it wants. And despite the fact that this character, Echo, did very poorly in this kind of like competition or tournament of people that wanted to be considered, the Phoenix chose her. She just happens to be an Indigenous person and is awesome. And so this book kind of just like jumps straight into her kind of like figuring out what it means to be the Phoenix, which she'll tell you over and over again, I'm Echo, I'm not Phoenix.
Mhm.
I just happen to have the Phoenix power. So, and they come up against something really cool. And there's a first appearance in this book. I'm going to tell you the actual name of it is Phoenix Echo. Sorry, I had to pull out my notes earlier because I was like, First appearance of River. So a new character for this book. Really awesome. I love when a lot of people don't like the fact that Marvel does this where they kind of like take off in other series, but I like it. It makes it feel like every book you pick up, if you've been reading something, the chances are that you know what the Easter eggs or whatever are in them. It's pretty high. So I like it that they all tie together.
What was the series called where they did the competition for the Phoenix power? Do you remember?
I can't. It was the Phoenix something or something Phoenix. I can't remember.
Maybe someone in the comments, because I would want to read that. That sounds cool. So drop it in the comments if you know what the name of that one was. While I talk about Refrigerator Full of Heads by DC.
Not a basket full of heads anymore?
Nope, it's a whole refrigerator.
Next part.
Oh man.
Listen, and this one is not. I was excited. I mean, I don't know if I should have been excited for a Refrigerator Full of Heads, but I was like, yes, like horror, serial killer. And you said that this one is the continuation of A Basket Full of Heads? Okay.
If it says Joe Hill and it's Joe Hill doing it.
Yes. So this one is not what I expected. It's awesome. It's not what I expected. And he said Joe Hill's head basket got full and had to get more storage. Exactly.
Yep.
Keeps them fresh.
Pressure.
And this one is awesome. It actually it starts off with a home invasion, and there's this family, they're asleep, and they have their home broken into, and these burglars, they are not interested in money or anything. They are looking for this certain relic that that shows kind of through the panels. It's not really fully explained, but it has mystical power. So it's clear these people are after objects with mystical power, weapons with mystical powers, and then it flashes forward, and and probably a lot of people that get subtext better than I do, because I'm just having a good time. I'm just looking at colors and words, and it took me a couple of pages to realize that it's the exact same people that were doing the home invasion in the beginning, and you're seeing them now. They're like this happy couple on a road trip, and all this is happening, and but it becomes pretty clear pretty quickly they're still out looking for artifacts. And actually you can see on the cover one of these artifacts ends up showing up, and they end up at this little town, and they're saying, oh, we're just a couple of tourists just having a good time, but really they're out looking for this. And of course the town is like, yeah, there's been all this weird stuff that's been going on, so you guys be careful. And they're like, yeah, oh yeah, wow, sounds bad. But it's really cool. Like, so there's a lot more like fantasy elements to it than I originally expected. And the head they end up with is not, no spoilers here because it's pretty vague, not human, and it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next volume is not grocery store cooler section full of heads. It's gonna be dumpster full of heads, of course.
Oh, that'd be so gross.
You gotta up it. Like, that seems too like people would notice it and take that down right away. You gotta have somewhere you can keep it longer than that, keep them fresh. Walk-in freezer full of heads. But the basket and the refrigerator don't have anything to do with each other. So because the basket was clearly not a cooler.
An IKEA bag full of heads.
Oh, that's so creepy. I like that one. All right, there are two big storylines going on in the Marvel Universe right now. One of them is the death of Doctor Strange, which I'm going to read right now, and the other one is the trial of Magneto, which is also out this week. But so you should be following both of them if you are a Marvel tried and true, like I am. The death of Doctor Strange. This is issue number 2. In issue number 1, he died. You should probably have figured that out by now, that he was going to die. I do love Marvel in that way, that the titles actually mean the thing that's going to happen in there. Hey, Michael. So he has come back, but not in the way that you think. So you don't have an alive Doctor Strange here. But he's come back to help solve his death. So you find out in this book, he, at some point in his past, sheared off a point of his life, a week of his life, and set it aside somewhere else in a pocket universe or something, to only show back up if he died. So, and the other thing you find out about in this, which this is also a first appearance book, is because, he or anybody that is the Sorcerer Supreme, so one of their big purposes is to protect the earth from magical beings from inside and out. And it turns out there must have been lots of magical beings outside of our earth that have been definitely been holding their distance because of the Sorcerer Supreme. And now that there's none, they're showed up. So you find out about a new group actually in this one. They're the mothers. We'll call them the mothers. They call each other. They're it's not like mom mother, but they're 3 very distinct baddies that are pretty terrifying. So jump in, Jed McKay crew, really really good.
That's awesome. That cover is awesome too with the casket.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, next I want to talk about Ice Cream Man. Ice Cream Man number 26, which I read the last one, number 25, because I was the big 25th, super size with the plane crash and thing. And I might have skipped this one this week, but I saw on their social media they did something really inventive with this book, which is not surprising because it's Ice Cream Man. They're always pushing it. And I think the real surprise of this book is that the ending is not that sad, which for Ice Cream Man is like, what? I kept expecting okay, and they're going to set it all on fire, when, because that's how those books usually end. This book, I can't open it up and show you, but almost immediately, as soon as you open this book, it tells you to do this. And then you open it, and it is a man climbing down his family tree. And it's going through the generations of his family, and he's like, I'm really messed up. Why am I messed up? And every page you go like this, and it's more of the tree, and he's climbing down it through the generations. It's very cool. And the other thing I want to share from this book is that it says it's a Chinese proverb. I don't know if it's actually a Chinese proverb, but it was so cool. I just wanted to say it on here. And basically it says, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Which is, this is so cool. Had you heard that before?
No, but
I'd never heard that before.
I get what it's going for.
Yeah, and like I said, it's shockingly cheerful from the Ice Cream Man series, which is usually all despair soup. So it's an awesome one. It's a very, very fun read.
Yeah, sure. This says #despair soup.
Yeah.
I've never heard that term before, and I love it. All right. Purgatori, issue 1. Last seen in Vampirilla versus Purgatori. Purgatori has decided to take some time off and kind of get, refocused, I guess.
Self-care.
Self-care.
Mm-hmm.
So it explains in the book that she's gone off and found herself a nice quiet place, which just happens to be at a Buddhist monastery, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll go into like super deep trances. And the other thing that I found out about her is I did not realize, and of course, I feel like I should have known this because she's been around as a character for a long time, but I didn't realize that when she kind of like drinks the blood of somebody, like attacks them and drinks their blood, is the way she usually does it, because of her demonness, that she takes on all of their like knowledge, and it turns out that the monks have like whoever their leader is has all of the knowledge of the entire generation of monks, and somehow she's been the person who has been the undoing of the leader of this sect every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So she holds within herself all of the knowledge of all the generations of this one thing. But then there's another I'll just say another person because there's no other way to describe it. Another person that decides that Purgatori seems very vulnerable right now, and they're going to show up to see what they can do about that. So if you've never read a Purgatori book, this is probably a good place to start. I don't know if it makes her a sympathetic character or not, but certainly it makes her an interesting one.
But not all characters have to be good characters just because they're the main character. Personally, I like a good bad character, as the main focus sometimes. Alrighty, so this is Ma number 2, which I read number 1, and I definitely think that you could jump into this series on number 2 because a lot of the things that happen in number 1 are referenced pretty clearly in this one. And this one, so in number 1, basically 2 sisters go to like this, I guess you would call it like a health retreat sort of area. And it's a place where they say that they help women heal. So you can release your pain, and their whole structure is around this idea that there is a goddess figure that you're giving the pain to the goddess, which is presented, and all the characters are assuming that it is metaphorical, but you get the idea as the reader, it's a lot more, probably going to be a lot more literal than metaphorical. It is definitely, like I said, it is a slow burn book in a very good way, where you're seeing all these things, you're starting to see warning signs. There's people with axes coming in, even though this is a totally modern like health retreat, and it's very good. And one of the sisters has gone through a lot of trauma, very recently gone through a lot of trauma, and is probably the most resistant to healing, but is also the one they're pursuing the most. So you can tell that they want her to give that trauma to whatever entity this is. It's very wild. It's very interesting. It's very a lot of like psychological things going on, but very good.
Hate the name.
Ma.
There's just some words that are in English that like just make you uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I always read it as Ma, like, oh, Ma, you got the bread, but I know that it's supposed to be read as like Ma, like mouth, but
yeah, gaping mouth.
Oh, yeah. But I just always read it as Ma, like, hey, Ma. Oh.
All right. Trial of Magneto. This is issue number 3 we've gotten into now. So far, and it's kind of interesting because it parallels a little bit what happened and how they dealt with the death of Doctor Strange there. That although she is dead, she or somebody that looks like her has come back. Magneto has actually admitted that he killed her, which is kind of interesting, and the trial is continuing. But the character that's shown up and looks like her, who has no recollection of being her, I don't know when they're going to tell us what really is going on, but it's a really cool mystery unraveling that they've got going on. I really don't know. I really don't know how it's going to resolve. And let me look real fast. I want to make sure I don't want to give away too much stuff.
How many issues of that are there going to be?
I don't think it's very long.
Okay.
Oh, it's so severe that she doesn't, whatever this person is that shows up that's her, doesn't recognize her children. So that kind of makes you feel like maybe this really isn't her.
Mm-hmm.
And then as part of the storyline, these giant kaiju creatures show up on all the edges of the island of Krakoa, which is where they're having the trial, and start attacking. And they look to be fairly terrifying creatures, I have to say. Do you have any more?
I am out. Okay. I did read this one. So if you want to do that one, then I can do that one.
Yeah, we're going to do the grand finale together. No lie, by the way, for the Nita Hawes Nightmare blog, which is one of those books they're holding until next week. Mm-hmm. I actually direct messaged Rodney Barnes with a picture of myself crying, because I did in fact cry when reading this book. It was not false crocodile tears, mm-hmm. and I'll tell you why in a minute. This is Howling Snow, a kung fu fable from Comics Experience Publishing. So this one is kind of a cool, it feels like a fable. You know how fables, by the way, there's a cool, on Netflix, they have those Explained. I don't know if you watched the Explained series.
Oh, yeah.
There's one on fables. So I just watched it. So there's like a difference between, like, there's definitely a difference between fables and things that have morals and those kinds of things. So it's kind of fun. But anyway, it definitely feels like a fable. But the main character is a fox that becomes a man and then kind of like finds himself just in regular society. And it really is it's in, I think, 3 different like movements or chapters within here. It's a really big, thick book. It's a one-shot, so it's all in here. That kind of has him go through. It's like you never know when one of the other humans that he's interacting with, whether they're actually also have a creature that's figured out how to transform. So it's just the most gorgeously drawn thing. It's a very stylized art. It's exactly the same kind of art as what you see on the front cover, by the way. So the front cover art is not a lie. But I bring it up because there probably aren't very many of these that were ordered, because I don't think Comics Experience Publishing is on FOC yet. So unless your local comic shop saw it at Initials and ordered it, they might not have noticed to get this one, but you'll probably want it because it's really good. And Comics Experience started out its life as a comic book like educational website in which you learned how to make comic books. So you pay, and they still are. So you can still pay to go and take online classes with them from people that are actually working in comic books, so you can learn how to do it. But then they had so much talent that was part of their teaching pool, and people that came in, they decided to start doing comic books. So if you wonder where this company came from, you're actually supporting creator-driven things. So this is Howling Snow. You should definitely pick it up. And last but not least
is Nita Hawes Nightmare blog. This one, I mean, I just knew, just look at that cover. I mean, look at that crazy kaiju there.
I should have ordered a lot more. I don't think I noticed that Rodney Barnes was writing it. If you guys don't know Rodney's stuff, you should start following him if you haven't already. He actually works in Hollywood. Like, it's nothing to see him post on his Facebook that he's having, lunch with T.I. or other very, very famous people, or pictures from the set of whatever thing he's on. So he knows what he's doing. And if you like visual storytelling, I mean, it's already a visual medium anyway, right? It's a comic book. But in this one specifically, you can see his experience in writing for the emotional gotcha.
It does get you. I think it got you more than it got me. I loved it. I was having a great time. It is very, very sad. in parts of this book. But basically, what this is about is that they're in Baltimore, right? Because they mentioned a couple of different places. So I was trying to remember, and it's revealed it's referenced several times in the book that Baltimore is where the demons come into our world.
There's a gateway to hell.
Like literally, it's just Baltimore. Like
people in Baltimore will tell you it's true.
And so in this, and there's a couple of different characters, but in this, there's Nita Hawes, who is and did you figure out what exactly? Because I know she's a teacher. And she's a teacher, and she's sort of a researcher into the paranormal. And she writes a blog about everything that she sees, which, like I said, in a Baltimore filled with demons is a lot. And it's one of those books where it goes in between a couple of different storylines because it's kind of introducing you to what's going on in the world. Yeah. And there is an attack where this person, I'm not sure, I guess it's a person who is possessed, possibly it's just a demon. I got the idea that maybe it was a person who'd been possessed. Maybe. That was my understanding of it from reading, but I'm not sure.
From a shot that happens later, that's what it looked like to me.
And so there is a brutal attack that happens, and it's kind of shows the police's reaction to that, and what really that part of it explains kind of what the demons are looking for, that all the demons kind of have their own agenda. It's going to be crowded in a good way, well, not in a good way for the people of Baltimore, but it's going to be crowded with monsters in this book, I can already tell. And it's about, then later on, someone is reaching out to Nita Hawes asking for some help, and it is revealed how sad her life is. Her life is just devastating, which I don't know. I don't really want to spoil it and talk about the parts where that Miss Jim was literally crying, but it is very sad. Her life is absolutely devastating. And then towards the end, she's being reached out to where she's going to be pulled, you can tell she's going to be pulled into the investigation of this demon that did this attack. And it's so good for anyone who likes monsters, and just an absolutely awesome comic book. This is definitely going on my personal pull list this week. So it is awesome. And look up the other covers for it, because this one is awesome, but I love all the other covers that they've released for it too. Those are absolutely beautiful.
Every once in a while, I write a really good review. So I'm gonna tell you what I wrote about this to him so he could use it. It says, Nightmare Blog does what all great books do. You can see the moment coming at you like a freight train, but you still press on toward it. That crushing, heartbreaking panel that undoes you. I have been undone. And a picture of me crying. That's horrible. But yeah, it's comic books are awesome, right? They can make you feel really happy. They can make you laugh. They can take you out of the reality of your life and make you just kind of live another whole thing. And then sometimes you think to yourself, I just read art. This is really, truly masterful writing. It's what I feel like when I read Jeff Lemire and a great many other writers, and art too. Art also does that to you. So you guys are reading comic books. This is art. This is a medium that needs to be around for a really, really long time. All right, that is all we have for you guys today. We've run out of time. It's crazy.
We had a lot to go through today. There's a lot.
Yep. You should use comicshoplocator.com to find a comic shop near you. All you need is a zip code. It's like right now, we have a visitor at our store from out of state. So I hope they're using Comic Shop Locator to find comic shops near them to go shop. Which I know they are, because they just sent me a message. You will not believe what I just found at this comic shop down the street. I was like, I would, because we have cool stuff around here. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and Bean. We'll see you guys next week for a minute to skim it on the experience. Bye, y'all.
Bye.